Hey, this is Sandy.
And Randy.
And we're here on AT Corner.
Being an athletic trainer comes with ups and downs, and we're here to showcase it all.
Join us as we share our world in sports medicine.
Welcome back to another episode of AT Corner. This story episode is diving into the all too real aspect of athletic training, and that is the fact that we wear multiple hats.
So many hats.
Basically just a hat holder, hanger, sorter. The sorting hat. We went way off and we just started, so we're doing great.
I was just going to say, I think it stems from the fact that we are the jack of all trades, and I think
it's very true.
That is a great thing, but also because we offer ourselves up as that, it becomes like
not
literally all trades.
Yes.
I feel like trades that are not our trades.
I feel like we're also the jack of all trades within the healthcare community.
Care to elaborate?
I feel like we have to dive into so many different aspects, rehab, emergency, insurance,
mental
health. Obviously not the focal point, but a support role.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like we just have our hands in so many of the aspects of healthcare in general.
So I feel like you could probably talk to this topic more than I can, but because I feel like you've had a lot of extra duties on your plate for some things, but
not as much. Well, I guess nothing that's super crazy outside of being an athletic trainer.
Mm-hmm.
Insurance is one that I always think's interesting. I feel like a lot of ATs, we have to work a lot with insurance stuff, but we're never really taught it in school.
Actually, that's a good point.
Lately, I've just been on the phone with insurance companies, and that's brutal. But you don't get taught that system very much in school. You go over it, and you talk about what a deductible is.
But I feel like that's still within our scope. I'm talking extra duties like equipment manager.
Luckily, I haven't. I've been very spoiled and haven't had to do too much of that. I think the worst one, which is kind of a reality of most athletic trainers who are at smaller institutions, is I've had to drive on certain road trips.
We do have a couple stories about that.
I figured as much. That's a common one. Yeah, as a grad assistant, never drove. A lot of times we either had a bus when it was track, but if the team was small enough, we did vans, and I never had to drive. It was kind of university policy too, because technically I was a grad assistant, so they made the employees, full-time employees, drive.
Mm-hmm.
Or for the coaches, I guess. So that we were kind of protected in that regard, which was, that was nice. Because then when I was an assistant somewhere, I was like, I'm driving. Oh, okay. Super. But I have been a great navigator on the road.
There's an extra duty.
Yeah. Usually when I was in one of the vans with the coaches, I tended to be the navigator guy.
Well, that's passenger duty anyway.
Exactly. And plus, you can't trust the student athletes to get that done correctly, so it went to me. Hey, but I did on one of our away track trips. I've been to the campus so much that I don't know what the coach was doing. I think they had some other stuff going on. I can't remember why this happened, but the bus driver needed directions. No one was helping him. I was like, all right, I got this.
I'm pretty sure that's why I could never be a bus driver.
I couldn't drive the giant bus. I see them in these tight areas, on school campuses, right? Dropping off teams. And I'm like, I couldn't imagine driving that gigantic vehicle.
Man, give them props to that.
Big props. That's why I always say thank you when I leave.
So I put in our very first story is the epitome of extra duties, because I feel like when I think of extra duties as assigned,
okay,
I think of minor league baseball.
100%. The stories are, from the stories I've heard, it's very true.
And I mean, I'm just overgeneralizing because obviously I've never been in minor league baseball, but everyone who I know who's been in minor league baseball are like, oh yeah, I've done this for them. I've been the travel coordinator. I've booked flights. I've done all this.
I can guarantee you the candid guys can respond to that.
You want to read this one?
Yes, this one's by Audric W. I've been responsible for clubby duties in minor league baseball while on the road. Laundry, grocery shopping, putting out lunches, etc. Most teams have a clubhouse manager, but more importantly, they have a washer and dryer set up that wouldn't ruin the jerseys. When we were in North Dakota, they did not. At the time, I was reluctant with the laundry, one specifically because the games ended after 11 p.m., so staying up to do laundry and post-game treatment was a bit much. Totally agree with that statement.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, it was only at one of the places we went out of town for, and not all road games. The clubhouse manager was also supposed to provide food shopping, and setting out lunches, but I had to about 2 to 3 times on the road. They usually plop some PB&J over, and that was enough. So I took it as prevention by nutrition when I did it, which is true. That's not a wrong. That is a good frame of thinking right there.
So speaking of laundry, actually today, my students, they were taking like a long time in laundry, and they came back and they were like, "Can you help us?
Oh no,
the laundry won't open."
Oh no.
And I was like, "Oh, this reminds me when I was a student." One time I was doing the laundry, and literally the door would not open. Like, there was no way. I couldn't get it to click. There was no way. And I spent so long down there.
Yeah.
And finally, the athletic trainer came down, and she was like, she was trying, she couldn't get it open, and eventually we had to call, and it was actually broken. Like, the door was actually broken.
Oh no.
So of course, like, when my students came, I was like, oh my goodness, this is like repetition of me as a student. So then I walked over, and they were like, yeah, like, we can't figure it out. So I turned on the dryer, the washer, and then I held the button that said hold door to unlock, and then it beeped, and then I opened it, and they were like, oh. And I was like, honestly, sometimes you just have to be an athletic trainer.
Yeah. The minute you get ATC, all of a sudden things you figure things out.
Mm-hmm. So extra duties as assigned, athletic trainers can open the laundry doors.
Yes, big time. Yeah. You know, I've had some pretty crazy laundry stories too. Same thing. Our washer and dryer when I was a student would break frequently. And we finally figured out the trick how to at least get our towels back out. Because that was the problem. We couldn't get the towels out. And we're like, oh, this is bad. No, we figured it out. I can't remember how we figured it out, but we did.
So relating to the last story, Audric was talking about how he took over for the food as prevention by nutrition. This next one's anonymous, and they said, I've been in charge of the snacks and ordering lunches and dinners to cater when we are on the road. At least I get to pick where we are eating.
That's a win.
It started as me complaining that we were feeding them Chick-fil-A before games, and turned into, okay, well, what do you think they should be eating then?
Of course.
This summer, they actually paid for me to do my sports nutrition coaching certification. It wasn't a job I wanted, but I think they made a big change in their eating habits, and it gives me some peace of mind for sure. I do this mainly for our boys' national basketball team, high school, but we travel all over, so it's more like a college schedule.
Ooh, interesting.
Which I was like, they paid for you to do what? A sports nutrition coaching?
I mean, if
that is awesome.
Yeah, if they see that much value in it, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's good, because that is something that's very overlooked, I do have to say. Like, you know what's ironic is, like, all the coaches, like, really love talking about nutrition and how important it is and, like, all the admin stuff. But, man, when it comes down to, like the dinner and, like, where to eat, there's some questionable choices.
Yeah. Budget.
Yeah, budget. And plus, when you've eaten at one place for so long, it gets pretty bad. Like, I remember, like, Subway used to be huge.
Oh yeah.
Teams always, right now it's like a Jersey Mike's or like Jimmy John's. I've noticed has like replaced Subway in that popularity. I don't mind the jerseys.
We get right now after games or before games, we get pizza or lasagna.
Lasagna's fire.
I know you like the lasagna.
I like the lasagna.
You want to read the next one?
Yes. So this one's by Christina S. I have somehow been placed in charge of mouthpieces and zip ties. This just sounds like your alley right here. You live in the world of mouthpieces.
Oh, I don't carry zip ties.
I didn't say the zip ties. I'm talking about mouthpieces.
Honestly, the only reason I carry mouthpieces is because I found them in the ATR. And I was like, well, I mean, I'm not going to use them, so I might as well keep them in my kit. Christina
continues with, we do not have an equipment manager, which is crazy because we have 20 coaches, it seems. Yeah, I know that life. I tried to say no for the longest time, but they kept asking me, and my AD gave me zip ties and mouthpieces, so I didn't have an excuse. Plus, mouthpieces are too important to not have, sadly.
Right. That's what my thinking is.
At the end of the day, I'd rather be in charge of mouthpieces than risk safety. I always give a couple to my sports med kiddos so they can deal with it and not me.
You know, I always,
Smart.
whenever they ask me, I hand it to them and I say, you did not get this from me.
Yes, because then they'll all come over.
Right.
Be like, Miss Sandra, do you have a mouthpiece for me? I know. I've heard him say it too. You know what? That is a good point. I always, when I, in the world of track, one of the most important things there's two things that you could be a game changer with. One, if you have a spike tool to help them with their spikes, which I always carried one. That's right. They thought I was pretty cool. Like, who has a spike tool? Me. I got one. And then, what is it? The like safety pins deals. Because that's how they pin their bibs. Yeah. And even though each meet, they give you plenty of these pins to pin your bibs, I guarantee you an athlete's losing one. And they're always like, I need a pin. I got you. I got some backups. That's how you make it in the world of track right there. And blankets. Oh, yeah. It gets cold.
You should carry a porta potty for track.
Nope. I do not want to be in charge of that. Absolutely not. No.
You know what I actually do carry is a helmet pump.
Smart. That's a football AT thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially because like our equipment guys are gone during practice.
Yeah. So. And plus during the game, they could be busy and hey, I got you.
I don't think I've had to use it during game. I've had to use it before a game.
Oh, okay, fair. But again, before the game, right? Your equipment people are doing probably like 10 jobs.
Right.
I see them prepping the headsets and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And Sharpies. I carry Sharpies.
I thought you were going to say sharks. I was like, well, yeah, you got to have the shark.
Oh, yeah. That's an athletic training thing.
Yeah, Sharpies. Yeah.
So this next one is also about equipment manager.
Okay.
So Ben S said, in my last job about 10 years ago, all coaches drove their teams in vans. In order to drive the vans, you need an extra license endorsement. I had mine, but the coaches did not have theirs yet, so I was the only staff member who could drive.
Oh, no.
They took advantage and didn't get their licenses the entire year, so I was stuck with it.
That's dirty.
And that's how I became the 15-passenger van driver with the whole women's basketball team in the van for the entire season of away games. And I didn't get paid extra.
Nope.
I also consider myself assistant equipment manager, but I actually really enjoy doing it. I just spend so much time on the road with my hockey team that I just give our equipment manager a lot of help with bus packing and locker room setup. Again, no extra pay, but I enjoy it, and it's a good use of downtime on the road for the most part.
Fair. I do have to say, I enjoyed helping unload the bus. Because, one, I had to get to my stuff. And all the kids, all their bags are in the way. And these student athletes, man, when they get off the bus, they're just oblivious to what's happening.
Actually, that is so true.
Let's get our bag and let's get going. So literally, I'm just throwing bags out. It's Jerry's. There you go. Right? I enjoyed that part because I got to my stuff. And then I'd call the freshmen over. They had to carry some of the stuff. I did not want to carry the table. I refused.
Yeah, I'm pretty good about not carrying my stuff.
That thing's heavy. That's what freshmen are for, I guess.
Yeah.
If anything, were all very eager to help me as opposed to the other duties the coaches wanted them to help. There's easy ups and stuff. The minute that started coming out, all the kids would be like, Randy, you need help?
Oh, right.
Yeah, right. I'm like, yes, I will take some help.
I noticed that with softball cleanup. They're like,
yeah.
let's help the athletic trainer, let's not clean up.
Yeah. Let's see. What would I rather do? Taking a couple coolers or rake the field, drag the field? I'm gonna take the coolers.
So we do have a couple of fun extra duties.
Okay.
So this one is from Sarah Y. She said, for my indoor sports, volleyball, and men's and women's basketball, I have been the team DJ, responsible for playing pregame music and the national anthem.
Nice.
I got free reign of music, but took suggestions from the kiddos. It was a nice way to break up the same routine of taping and sitting and waiting for the game to start.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
You know what? I feel like you have to be like the right person.
You do.
Because I think if someone gave me team DJ duties, I would be so stressed out. Like,
yeah,
I don't know what...
Music, you can never make anyone happy.
Right.
Everyone's going to... Someone is going to complain about the choice of music that you put on.
Right.
It's just going to happen.
And I don't know what the, like...
I mean, there are times the music's playing. I'm like, what are we listening to? Why are we listening to this?
Because I feel like I listen to country. No one else wants to listen to country.
You would work out in baseball, though.
You
or
know
softball.
what? Actually, baseball was great. They did take some of my suggestions to play Macklemore.
Yeah, they did. You're right.
And it pumped up the team. So
yeah, that's true.
And country. They played a lot of country.
They play a lot of country.
All right, we got another fun one.
All right, I'm just reading the title and it says Team Outing Planner.
Mm-hmm.
All right, this should be good. All right, this one's by Kate B. When I traveled with my team for NAIA opening round, I was the team outing planner. I did like it, and I kind of volunteered for it. Since I was sitting at their practice, the coaches asked if I could find something in the area for a team outing, and I said sure. It was pretty easy as we were in a small town area with not much to do, which, by the way, that is what I've noticed with NAIA championships. They pick some very obscure cities.
Really?
Yes, and I'm like, that sounds like the middle of nowhere. So I could see options being limited.
You mean it's not a touristy place?
No, definitely not.
The main attraction is
the event.
Right.
Kate continues with, we ended up at Dave & Buster's. Our American guys on the team were excited, and our internationals, who make up about 80% of our team, were like, what's that? The internationals ended up having a fantastic time trying to collect special cards for prizes. That's fun.
Isn't that fun?
That is fun.
It just reminded me that we still have our Dave & Buster's
oh, yeah.
points.
That's right.
We never went back.
Oh, a lot of points, too.
We need to go back and spend them.
We do need to go back.
Or win more.
Hey, it's funny about team outings. We when we were at regionals for track one year, because it was a small group and we're there for so long, and it is NCAA postseason, we had a lot of downtime, and we found this mini golf place in like Sacramento.
Oh, that's super fun.
Yeah, and we did. I don't think we did the mini golf. We did go-karts, and then we did the laser tag.
Oh, that's fun.
The laser tag was really fun to watch college students get really into it while we're also playing with like 7-year-olds in there.
Oh.
Yeah, it was real. This was intense. 7-year-olds weren't ready.
What happens if people get hurt at laser tag?
I would be furious. I'd be furious. I'd be like, are you serious, my guy? You got hurt playing laser tag. That's
like our bowling tennis player.
Oh, yeah.
Their fingers got crushed between the bowling balls.
I remember that. But I think so far, the moral that I'm getting is be careful what you volunteer for.
Oh, yeah. Well, because as soon as you volunteer for it once, like...
that's your job. That's your job now.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. At NATA, I went to go do mini golf.
You did. That's right.
Like right around the corner from...
The convention center, right? That's pretty cool.
It was like there was like the Liberty Bell, like a mini Liberty Bell.
So here's what got me is you guys were off having a blast. Well, I was sitting there in sessions and stuff.
Extra sessions that you paid extra money for. I went to the sessions that I wanted to.
Which, by the way, was worth it. I was actually very, very glad for my extra purchase. It was well worth it.
You spent $150 on an extra day, I spent $12 on mini golf.
Which it did look cool. It looked a lot of fun.
All right, so extra duties also means being involved.
All right.
So Jesse C said, I've been a driver, done equipment, been in charge of meals, and more. All of these quote-unquote extra duties were done because either no one else could do it, I had special knowledge, or I volunteered for it. We drove vans for smaller teams. Personally, I prefer to drive and don't make a very good passenger, so I was happy to do it, which honestly, I am the opposite. I would make a better passenger. So, no thank you to the vans.
In a team setting, I'd rather be the passenger.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. In life, I'd rather drive. And then just with the team, no, I'd rather be the passenger.
Yeah. So, well, Jesse said that he would not be a very good passenger. So.
Oh, I didn't say I was that great of a passenger. I just said I'd rather be the passenger.
That is a good distinction, actually. But it did make for a long day if I had to shuttle people around on trips, which, yeah.
That's true.
That's
especially track, by the way.
Oh, man.
Because that happens. I mean, obviously, it wouldn't be for us because I have to be there. Mm-hmm. But like when you think about shuttling around, that's all they do. Because there's like different start times, different groups. It's a whole thing.
So he continues to say, I did a lot of work on equipment with football. I fixed a lot of helmets and knee braces and actually extended the life of most of our knee braces.
Nice.
Without the work, we would have spent thousands of dollars on new braces. And with meals, I like to know what is happening on trips, so I would ask when/where are we eating, and coaches wouldn't have an idea, so I would help and make a suggestion. I would rather be involved and have a say in what I was doing rather than just be along for the ride.
That's true.
Which, like, honestly...
Well, that's how you end up going to Chick-fil-A all the time.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
If you let other people decide.
If you let the coaches who probably make a last minute, like, oh yeah, we'll go here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you have to live with other people's decisions.
Yep. You know what was nice on our travel trips? Like we never really went to like one spot. We went to a spot that had multiple places, and they'd be like, okay, you have these places, go. So that was nice.
That is nice.
Yeah. Gave you some variety.
We always did like go to a buffet. We always went to a buffet.
We would do a restaurant depending on the meet. So like for like cross country, right? We did, because it is a little bit smaller of a team, we did a team dinner one night. So like we'd all go to one restaurant and then we'd eat. And then the rest of the other times, like, oh, it'd just be, oh, like we're stopping here and they have these places, go ahead. Mm-hmm. And then I can already just see the horror when we walk into these restaurants and the workers look up and see like a team walk in. Oh, I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry.
So here's another like, this one's like bittersweet. Like, it's like there's a good part and there's a bad part.
Oh, okay.
Want to read it?
All right, this one's by Quincy P. Sweeping ice and escorting other team. I've been expected to escort the opposite team to their locker room and back. It was because someone thought they were in charge of me, and I shut that shit down quicker than they were ready for. That's intense. I like the energy we're bringing. The guy who was the event coordinator realized it was his job and not part of medical responsibilities, which makes sense.
Well, okay, the funny thing to me is, like, even if you don't know what an athletic trainer is, if you think they're, like, a personal trainer or something, like, or if you think...
Yeah.
Even, like, I don't know what you think we are. Escorting the other team is definitely not.
Not within those duties.
No matter what you think we are, it's not.
I have been asked, like, oh, where's our locker room? I'd be like, oh, it's, like, this way. But that's very rare.
Right.
Very rare. Quincy continues with, sweeping the ice didn't bother me because they were short-staffed and the staff is really friendly. They will buy you beers and food after the games and they pay in cash. I didn't mind it. I almost got to drive the Zamboni if there would have been another game. Okay, see, that's cool.
Right?
The benefit is way better than the actual job.
Right.
I'd say that, I think that's fair. And also, it does help when they are friendly.
Right, and that's like
it makes
work
you
environment.
It makes you more willing to like, yeah, I got you guys.
And also like the other story that we got that was talking about like, oh, like helping out with equipment and unloading, like, you know, helping pack and unload and stuff.
See, the camaraderie amongst support staffs are great. Because we're all in the same struggle. We work in athletics.
Yep. This next one is probably one of my favorites that we got.
Okay.
Someone, this is anonymous,
okay,
was asked to move the referee's car in the middle of a soccer game.
No way.
Because the announcer of the game said it was about to get towed.
Dude, it had to be soccer. It always revolves around soccer refs. I don't know what it is about soccer referees, but they are just on another level. That's not real. Seriously?
Could you imagine being asked that?
Oh,
And by a ref, like
I'd
refs
be like,
totally know what we do.
I'd be like, no.
Like refs
No.
know we have to be there. It's not like,
Here, if you want to earn brownie points with our coaches, have them do it.
you know what? Like you could be petty. Like if you, I guess you wouldn't be the one to move the car, but like if you got someone to move the car, like have them move the car like really far.
Well, actually, I think what you need to determine is one, how's the ref calling the game, right? Like,
well, the ref won't know till after the game.
I feel like. What do you mean?
They won't know where their car is until after the game, or if you do it or not. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, do it or not, and then also, like I said, maybe where you put the car. Because I was gonna say, like, if this ref's not doing a good job, I might be more inclined to be like, no, I'm not moving it. What is it gonna do? Red card me?
I was just about to say.
Really? Is that a red cardable offense?
You're not listening to me. Here's a red card.
Now, would it help get you calls though? See, but again, I think that's more for the coaches, right? I feel like the coaches would be the ones to want to step up and be like, "Oh no, dude, I got your car. I got it."
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
I don't know if as a ref I would trust a coach.
I wouldn't. Especially if they're chirping at you all game.
Right.
I'd be like,
so,
no, I don't trust that one.
Actually, that reminds me of this weekend one of my football players got unsportsmanlike.
Oh yeah.
And actually like a million of them did, but
it was a chippy game.
It was a bad game.
The result wasn't.
No, you're right. You
got the dub.
But we were hotheads.
Yes.
And one of my kids was like, he just took it out on a fence. And so I told him today. I was
because he got ejected, right?
He got ejected. And I was like, dude, what did that fence do to you? And he was like, it was talking back to me.
Of course. Okay, first of all, if you're hearing the fence talk back to you, I think you need to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
That sounds like a red flag. That was a very witty response.
Yeah, I appreciated it.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
So this actually brings up a really good point for refs. So one of the extra duties as assigned that Albert T got is expectations to treat referees and spectators.
Oh, okay. Okay. The spectator ones, I'm already irritated, but let me, I'll let this story digest.
Right. And I think part of it has to do, I mean, we should just read the story, but I think that part of it has to do with your job description too. And like setting and where you are.
Yes.
But specifically for Albert T, he said the referee situation is more for basketball.
Oh, I can already imagine now.
During COVID, our conference ATs decided as a collective whole to not perform any form of intervention such as assisted stretches or taping. This fell outside of our scope of care for student athletes and allowed us to focus on our patient care and game operations. To reach this message out, it was presented by our head ATs during administrative meetings and to the association that assigns officials. Obviously, COVID helped enforce this, but we might see things revert back to traditional practices as things normalize.
Oh, of course.
It's important to remind them that we are not providing any form of treatment as they come ask us, but they can use our equipment to help them prepare, such as foam rollers and stretch straps. Some are good about it, but others have an attitude.
Of course they do.
And I mean, the ones who have an attitude are probably the ones who expect it.
Oh, 100%.
We have to be okay with accepting that they are going to have hurt feelings. As for spectators, it is important to remember what falls within our scope and contract. For example, the moment we give a bag of ice, we transfer ourselves as their care providers and are liable if anything were to happen. Instead, game management staff was given a first aid kit and will assist with basic first aid care, such as giving a Band-Aid for a cut. If a severe situation arises, EMS can be offered for further evaluation. ATs are there in the event that the spectator reaches extreme circumstances such as cardiac arrest or heat illness.
Definitely.
It is definitely important for ATs to wrap themselves around, especially as it is in our nature to help everyone that we can.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, basketball refs, I could see definitely being the ones who are all about getting treated.
I feel like of all the refs, basketballs,
Yeah, I'd say it's them.
I have had a couple of football refs.
Are you serious? Really?
Uh-huh.
Interesting.
I had an Achilles tape. I've had a couple just asking for foam rolls. You know, a lot of refs I feel like just ask for meds.
I could see that.
Yeah. Lately, I haven't had any refs ask.
Or the season's still early.
I had a really awkward ref interaction the other day.
Oh, really?
It was really hot.
This.
It was really hot, and we had our easy up, and the refs were like walking over, and I was like, "Oh yeah, please come enjoy the shade." And the ref looked at me and was like, "Are you shade? Because I think we found you." And I was like,
that was very cringe worthy.
I just turned around. I was like,
disregard.
I don't know what to talk. I don't know what to say right now.
All right, this next one's by Garrett F. I was asked to work security at a CIF basketball game while providing medical coverage. All right, I'm done. That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. I just had to watch my corner where I was set up since there was an exit. If anyone tried to come in, which a lot did, I had to tell them to go around. I had to put my foot down with the administrators and tell them that this is not my job, and it is not in my job description to be security. You'd have to pay me as well as an athletic trainer and a security guard, LOL. They tried to tell me they were short-staffed and didn't have the manpower, and I told them that's not my problem. That's exactly what I had in my mind as the response.
What?
That's not my problem.
Oh.
They need to come better prepared, so that's what I had to settle on.
At first I thought you were just reading that still.
Oh, no.
And I was like, what?
Yeah, no. I agree, Garrett. That would be my response.
Yeah.
Look, I love it when...
I'm sorry that you're short-staffed, but that does not mean that it falls on me.
Well, 100%. Like, this is the situation that I've been put in with work for, like, some other things. And, like, right, they give you this reason about, like, oh, here's why and stuff like that. But a lot of it's, like, I understand that that's frustrating and I understand the position you're in. But at the same time, that's just not my problem.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't plan the event. I don't know what you want me to do.
Mm-mm. Sorry.
Sorry about it. So yeah, I get that. That's frustrating. Security guard.
Yeah, like, honestly.
I think if I was asked that, I'd just be like, I wouldn't be a good one because if I gotta go, I gotta go. Like, this post isn't gonna be very well manned if that's the case.
Right. This next one is just like something that I thought you would think is insane because I thought it was insane.
I already feel like I'm heading down that way just by reading the topic.
So Caroline D has been in charge of a lot of things.
Okay.
Like equipment manager, scoreboard.
Scoreboard's interesting.
Oh yeah, we have a couple more on that.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And night duty / dorm duty at the boarding school I'm working at.
Oh, that's got to be brutal.
I don't personally do dorm duty because I'm just a GA, but my head AT does dorm and study hall duty a night or two a week.
Oh, that's brutal.
A week.
Oh.
It's pretty typical for boarding school ATs to have other duties. This is because my head AT is provided housing, meals, a phone, and they cover gas as well. So even though he gets paid a lot less, he doesn't have a lot of expenses.
That's kind of
Overall,
nice.
It's not a bad gig, plus summers and longer breaks during the year.
I mean, having those expenses kind of taken care of is kind of nice.
Yeah, but you're like locked away.
Well, and also dorm duty.
Okay, yeah, dorm duty. So
that's
brutal.
I was like, I guarantee. Well, okay, when we're talking about boarding school, like how old are these kids, right? Like, I mean, if they're getting to teenage years, I mean, you know, that's even more of a pain in the ass, because someone's sneaking into someone's dorm, and then you gotta monitor that. I could see that being a pain.
Yeah, and the fact that it happens every week.
Yeah. And
they have to do that on top of AT duties.
Yeah.
Like, I'm
brutal.
not, if I have to stay up all night, I'm not going into work the next day.
No. No, I'm not.
No.
I'm out. They can't practice that day. Sorry. They're out.
So this next one is from Mara S, who's from
the homies.
Our partner,
That's
Precision
right.
AT. They help us provide free CEUs. They are awesome. So
Mara and Megan.
and Megan.
They are both awesome.
They are amazing. We love them. And you obviously should too.
I agree. That is very true.
So Mara said she worked at a small independent school.
Okay.
And it probably had like about 650 kids.
Total.
Like
the whole school?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, interesting. Oh.
I think like 7 to 12. Grade 7 to 12.
Oh, okay.
So she said, I was the only AT. In private schools, we wear a lot of hats. I acted as the school nurse for the whole school, grade 7 to 12.
Nope.
Yes, it's grade 7.
Nope, I'm out.
7 to 12. Taught at least 2 PE classes a day.
I can see that.
Did the clock and book at games.
Of course.
And so much more for 6 years.
Oh my gosh.
I also signed uniforms, signed out other equipment, lesson plans, CPR for the coaches. Oh, and I was the AT.
Oh, of course. Can't forget that role.
My least favorite job was assigning middle school lockers.
Oh.
In my last year, they finally hired a nurse.
Oh, that's nice.
Mm-hmm. In her last year.
Finally came.
For scoreboard duty, when an injury happened, the clock or book became someone else's problem. Usually a coach would jump in. But I will say I learned so much at this job. I didn't even know how to play basketball, let alone how to keep score. I used to hate phys ed and do everything to skip it, and then all of a sudden I was teaching 2 to 3 classes a day and loving it. I really became an athlete there. Being in the small independent school setting, there are very few evenings and weekends. So while all of that sounds crazy, it was such an ideal athletic training job.
That's awesome. I do know a few ATs that also like teach PE or have like transitioned to PE, and I think they love it.
I could see that.
Yeah.
It keeps you active.
It does. I mean, come on. Every PE teacher loves to play dodgeball too. You get to really take out the frustrations and sorry.
Are they still allowed to play dodgeball?
That's a good question.
I really loved my little tiny private school.
You did have a good time there.
Yeah. It was a good time.
Yeah.
It was like a little family.
It was. It literally was a little family because there were not that many people.
No, it was really small.
They loved you.
I bet I don't even want to.
All the parents loved you, or like the ones that like helped with games.
They did.
They know who you. They made you your own parking spot.
Oh yeah. Oh,
that's right.
Oh my gosh, I should go visit.
You should.
I don't even know how many kids there are. Like not many at all.
No.
Like probably. Well, they had 2 schools. I only worked for the high school.
Okay.
They had a middle school too, but I wasn't part of that.
That's not a big West Coast thing.
No.
ATs for middle school.
I don't think they really had sports. Let's see. I want to say I think that everyone had classes together. So I want to say there were probably no more than 30 per grade. Like probably.
Oh my gosh.
It was really small.
I think my women's soccer team's bigger than one grade.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, because they only had, from what I knew.
It was a small campus. They
only had like 5 classrooms, right?
Yeah, it was a small campus. They
small.
were building.
They were building.
A building.
Mm-hmm.
That's very descriptive.
Oh yeah, they totally did make me a parking spot.
They did make you a parking spot.
Me.
They did.
I loved them. Yeah.
You also worked a lot. It was 8-man football, and you were running the entire game.
I've never worked something more fast paced. So fun though. Well, 8-man's all they could do because that's all the they didn't have enough for 11
They definitely
man.
weren't going to have an 11-man team.
No. So speaking of scoreboard.
Yes, this one's by
Yeah, you can.
All right, this one's by Amanda M. It's usually soccer, field hockey, or lacrosse. My indoor sports have their shit together better.
Apparently, I just keep making you read the ones that cuss.
I know. I was going to say, this one is definitely going under the explicit area. I did it until the managers finally showed up. I'm on temporary scoreboard duty probably once a week, which I feel like could be a secondary school AT problem. The first time I learned on the spot, but it's not complicated. I don't do the book or track shots. Our sub varsity games are running time. So usually it's pretty easy, mostly just pressing the +1 home or +1 guest button when someone scores. I also make it very clear that if there are injuries, that is my number one priority.
Yep.
Which by the way, that reminds me, like during practice, there have been times I got put in charge of the scoreboard, like during practice when I was a student. There's a lot of pressure.
For what sport?
Women's basketball.
No, basketball.
Well, luckily it's practice, so all I'm doing is the time. And every now and then I'd put a point up depending on what drill they're trying to do. But like it's not like I'm doing it in the game, which that is a lot of pressure.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's why anyone who because we got a couple people who were saying scoreboard. Anyone who said that, I was like, okay, wait, you need to tell me. Because like soccer is different. Like soccer, like the time, you just leave. And then like they're not going to make more than, what's the highest scoring soccer game you've
that's
seen?
a good question. That I've seen? I think last year we beat a team like 10-0.
Okay, so at max, you're pressing a button 10 times. Like that's okay. Basketball is insane because first you have to see, okay, was it a 3-point? Was it a 2-point? Or do I have to stop the clock?
Stopping the clock and the shot clock is where everyone gets
the shot clock. Oh my gosh. So like that, when people are like, oh, I do for basketball, I'm like, how do you do that in athletic training? Like
even just when I had to do it for practice, there was a lot of pressure because you don't want to screw it up.
Right. Yeah, I was like, nope. I would draw the line.
Oh, and then like typing in the times, like, oh gosh, making sure you put it in. Oh yeah, these systems are intense.
Honestly, sometimes I just look up at the scoreboard, like, was that a point? Was that not? So I'm glad it's not me.
Yeah, I feel that.
Okay, so this next one's a little frustrating.
Oh, okay.
You want to read it?
No, go for it.
So this one's anonymous. They said, I had coaches in the high school setting asking me to make their roster.
Excuse me?
And then they gave parents my number.
No.
To call to ask about information that should have been given in the parents' meeting. I basically got assigned team secretary and had to keep explaining that was not part of my job. I told the parents who called the information they needed. Coaches and AD got an email explaining that the rosters and where to get the physicals are not issues I deal with in my off hours, so parents should not be calling me a month into season about it. AD responded with an equally annoyed response to back me up. AD also had a discussion with the coach on the basics of how to make a roster. I'll note, no one called me team secretary, but that's what I felt like when coaches asked about their rosters and when I was fielding extra calls.
Yep. Nope. That's not my problem, coach.
I would not touching that roster.
Nope.
The only reason I'm touching your roster is to update sportswear.
Yep, that's it. Do not ask me about your roster.
No. And do not put me in contact with parents.
Yeah.
Unless I need to get consent for treatment. No thanks.
Dude, right now, my off-season coaches are driving me nuts.
Oh no.
Because I knew this. I told them this was going to happen during the summer. I told them, "Hey, let's get these kids' paperwork in. Let's get them cleared. So when you guys are ready, there's no problems." Nope, we had some coaches whose athletes were slacking, and some of the coaches were slacking on updating us on who's on their roster this year. All of a sudden, man, practice are starting, and they're like, "Oh, I need to get these kids cleared." They keep bugging me about it, but I'm also in season. Mm-hmm. We got a lot of athletes. I'm not going to respond to that email very quickly.
Right.
I'm a little busy.
Right.
So they've only delayed themselves.
That's frustrating.
It is.
You know what else is frustrating?
What?
COVID.
Oh, absolutely. I think everyone can agree with that, even 2 years later.
So I am surprised at how, and I think this is a testament to how little people want to talk about it.
Yes. But I was going to say, I feel like COVID added a lot of jobs to everybody.
It added so many jobs, which is why I was thinking we did have a few people who said COVID, but I think not as many as I expected. So Stephanie F says, the list is so long. I'm sure everyone struggled with COVID. Working at a D1 meant a lot more involvement from our end, and unfortunately, we have been understaffed since 2019.
Oh, love that.
5 to 6 ATCs for 13 sports, 5 of which are contact/high risk.
Ooh.
And of course, we have football.
Of course.
So I know this is a D1, and I know that Jen, Gems from Jen, is gonna get on me because we have 2 full-times and a part-time, and she is just by herself. But I would just like to say we have 14 sports, and we have 2 athletic trainers and a part-time, and
I'm not talking about my place.
And we have football.
I'm not talking about my place then.
And yeah, so I just think it's funny when, like, I mean, if you look at high schools, especially like out here, how many sports do they have? They have many sports.
And 1 AT, maybe.
And 1 AT. And I think it's so funny, like, especially when you say it, like, oh, I have to work this many sports.
I'm not complaining.
Yes, you are. You're like, I want one sport.
I do as a preference because that's what I've
that's
always...
D1 life.
Exactly. And that's where I feel as an athletic trainer, I am making my impact at the highest level that I feel like I could.
So I will say, yes, that is very understaffed for D1. But I just think it's really funny that, like, if you look at that number and compare it to like other settings, I get that it's D1, but it's just so funny to me.
But it's true that you guys are also understaffed for how much you have to do.
We do a lot.
You do a lot.
But I think that's part of the fun. That's why I like it.
But you see, that's why everyone has their different setting that they really like and that they feel they're making the most of their impact. It just makes me feel
badass when I work with 17 football players in an hour and a half.
Exactly, right? You feel like your impact in that setting is where you're being the most effective. And, some of us also feel like in that setting, that's where we make the most impact.
Right.
So it's just different.
No, that's what I'm saying. Is that I just think it's like really funny when people have like different. I don't know. Everyone has a different idea of like what.
Well, let's be honest. Every school for sure is understaffed on ATs.
Yeah.
Well, no matter what setting you probably are, I guarantee you could probably make the argument you are understaffed.
You know the differences though? Like at a D1 working with that many sports, you're like, I feel like the expectations to be with the team at all moments of the day.
That is the trade-off.
Right.
Right. Like in these in other settings, right? Yes, you are working with everybody or all sports or multiple sports at once. But the expectation isn't necessarily there like it is at the D1 level. Like you are expected to be basically at the team's whim, kind of, right? You should be reachable, at least in some capacity, right? Like a lot of ATs are pretty good about setting their boundaries, and athletes are pretty respectful. If anything, it's not the athletes at a D1 level that are the problem. There are some that, of course, have a different vibe about them, and they get a little more demanding sometimes. But in general, 9 out of 10 athletes at the D1 level are really easy to work with. If anything, it's the coaches. Because the coaches have a certain expectation, and then they bug you as the AT.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the difference, what makes the D1 part, like, why, like in their case, saying, like, oh, being understaffed is because just that expectation, because the coaches don't care. Like, they don't see that. They mostly just see, well, why can't my team get that too?
Right.
So now you're expected to give that same level to everybody. And it's like, dude, I'm on like hour 16. I want to go to bed.
Right. Well, I mean, I see this. It says like 5 teams are contact high risk.
Yeah,
and if
that's
they
terrible.
only have 5 to 6 ATs, that means that they have, like, each athletic trainer has a contact high risk sport and at least another sport.
Yeah, 100%.
And someone has more than one
100%.
other sport.
100%.
So I get it.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying
It's just different.
Right.
Well, and then also you got to count football. Which at the D1, I guarantee you not one AT is working football. I'm sure that's either all hands on deck or there's for sure multiple ATs.
Right. There has to be.
Has to.
So Stephanie continues with, at one point we were surveillance testing at 4:30 a.m.
That's
what
brutal.
the heck?
That's brutal. That's a day.
That's D1.
Yeah, that's D1.
Vaccines helped, but it really depended on coaching staff and team culture of who actually got it. Some teams were great and had almost 100% vaccine rates, while others just refused to get it. This is really frustrating and was the root of a lot of strained relationships between AT staffs and coaching staffs.
Yeah, I can see that.
It would definitely be up there with one of the craziest things our profession has had to navigate. Even our team physician would joke about it and say he skipped class for the day that they went over pandemics in med school because it was such a novel experience for everyone. We were the ones doing all the testing for the entirety of surveillance testing, so there was definitely strain on if people missed testing and were held out of practice from it, pushback from the unvaccinated athletes and coaches, etc. Not a fun time.
No, not a fun time for anybody.
I remember that. That was horrible. I remember one time I was in charge, and normally I was in charge of getting our nurses to come to campus because our health center wasn't helping out.
See, that's another thing that I noticed conflict come about.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is within the campus. Mm-hmm. Because you know what's funny is everyone's all on board. Like on campus, everyone loves athletics until you actually really get into athletics. Mm-hmm. Like the health center was probably initially all about I don't know about your situation, but one of the schools that I had contact with, their health center was like, oh yeah, we'll help. And then all of a sudden you start seeing the demand that athletics requires, and everyone's like, oh no, I'm out.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a different world. It
is a different world.
But anyway, I was in charge of getting our CNAs to come every week, and I was just driving to work one day.
I remember this.
I just completely realized that I do not know how this happened, but I didn't get the CNAs to come this week. And so I had to stand at the testing center, which was our gym.
Yep.
And tell all of the coaches and all of the athletes that they couldn't come get COVID tested today as part of their weekly testing, and they had to come back tomorrow.
Hey, you wore it.
And I had to sit there and I had to take it all day long.
Yeah.
That's stupid tough. COVID.
I know, damn COVID.
Chaperone's an extra duty.
Yes, this one's by Stephanie F. Chaperone when flights get canceled and rebooked in groups on different days.
This is kind of like the van thing, but bigger scale.
Chaperoning was actually just a few weeks ago. We had 3 soccer games in Mississippi, and our big hub for flight connection was Dallas. There was that tropical storm rolling through the day we were supposed to leave, and the morning before our last game, all our flights to and from Dallas got canceled. Our poor GA coach spent most of the morning and the first half of the match reorganizing and rebooking our flights. Poor guy. In the end, I took a group of 7 athletes and myself on that day for a later flight out of the Jackson airport for Dallas. We are flying over Dallas and have to delay the landing about 45 minutes for it to clear up to safely touch down. When we get on the ground, there's about 20 minutes before the gates close for our connecting flight. Of course, it's on the opposite end of the airport, and Dallas-Fort Worth is massive. So we book it over there. My last athlete is the last one they let on the plane before they start cutting everyone off. And then we sat on the runway for another hour before finally taking off. We landed around 12:30 a.m. Pacific, then still have a 3-hour drive to get home. We thankfully had a van company able to pick us up, but I was fully prepared to drive if I had to. When all told, we left Jackson at 5 p.m. Central and got home at 5 a.m. Mountain Standard. So, a nice short 13-hour trip. The rest of the team and coaches came back the next day in the evening. They ended up having to drive to Memphis and fly home from there. That is brutal. We almost found ourselves in this situation one time. We were leaving an indoor meet, right? And where I was at the time, we tended to leave the day of the last events. Like we didn't stay an extra day, which I appreciated because
I was going to say that's kind of nice.
I'm ready to go home.
Right.
At that point, I'm ready to go home. I spent enough time with these kids this weekend. I'd like to go home. All right. So we leave the meet, right? The meet ran behind because, of course, it's a track meet. They tend to run late sometimes.
Of course.
So we book it to the airport. We're already running behind. We book it through the security. I barely had time to stop for food because we didn't stop on the way there because we just couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Grabbed some food, got on the plane, like just got on the plane, and I noticed, like, where's the jump squad?
Oh my gosh.
We're missing a whole group. They were the last ones on the plane.
Oh my gosh.
And I sat there thinking, it's like, dude, no matter what, like, I would make sure I'd get on this plane. Like, I am going home today.
Right. I am not staying. You are not leaving me behind.
I am not staying another day here. I would like to go home.
Didn't that happen to one of your teams that the van, it was like a road trip, the van broke down and they called the van company and they didn't have any extra vans?
Yes.
So
that happened last spring.
How did they fix that?
I can't remember. What happened?
I mean, I think
they had to stay
in the middle of the night. It was like in the middle of the night.
Something like that. They had to stay an extra day.
Yeah.
Until the van or
That's
the bus
horrible.
company was able to get another bus sent to them.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal. Luckily, I was not on that trip.
I know, that's nice.
I would have major eye roll.
We have one more story, actually.
Oh, okay.
Football extra manager. This one's anonymous.
Okay.
I ordered football team meals, keep time at football practice, and load/unload football game day equipment. My head AT at 5A high school had already taken on these tasks before I got to the school. I don't mind being helpful, but definitely not a job I will keep doing once he retires. I tell my coaches all the time, when the head AT retires, they're going to take back all that work.
But I could see the positive of keeping time at football practice.
You know what?
Hey, coach, that's we're on to a new thing.
Right, like today. I was like, it is like
we need to finish up.
It's already passed. I want to go home.
Let's get out of here.
We need to record the podcast tonight. We're going to be up late.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah. Do you have any other extra duties right now?
No, I think that was about it.
I feel like it was pretty broad. Like we went over a lot
of things, a lot of realities.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of realities.
Some bad, some good.
Some interesting.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of cursing, apparently.
Yeah.
This is now an explicit episode.
Seriously. So if you guys are new, we do every other episode as education or stories. This was a story episode. Next week is education. Is it a CU?
It is going to be a CU. We are talking about sleep, performance, and injury.
Which we need to go to sleep soon.
Which I don't know why I had to do the arms with that, but for those who are watching this on YouTube, you get to enjoy that.
And you get to see how many times I've yawned during this episode.
Yeah, that's true. Valid.
Speaking of sleep. Thank you so much to our partner Precision AT for providing those CEUs.
Yes.
We are also on Facebook for a group. If you guys are interested in joining our AT Corner community, go to facebook.com/group/AT Corner podcast. If you ignored me last week and did not rate or review us, because there are a couple hundred of you that did not, considering we only still have 27 reviews, I think, 27 ratings. It literally takes 2 seconds. All you have to do is click the whatever star rating you want.
Hopefully 5.
Maybe if I bug you too much, it's going to be like 4.
No. But we do also like reading the reviews. It usually does bring us a lot of joy in the day.
Yeah.
And your guys' messages, by the way. When we get messages, it really brightens our day.
It really does. You guys are awesome. I think if we stay on too much longer, I might fall asleep.
Yeah, we should probably.
Do you have anything else?
Nope, that was perfect. Thank you for helping us showcase athletic training behind the tape. Bye.